So obviously Stephen himself is not here to answer your questions, but he has said he's very happy to receive any questions by email. And obviously if there are any comments anyone has arising out of that, then feel free to air them before we move on.
Can you just clarify what the software was?
It's Panopto, yes. Panopto.
So as far as you know, is Law the only school doing this?
As far as I know, Law is the only school who is doing. The reason I wanted to present what Law had been doing was because they've done it at scale. So they said, all of our undergraduate programmes we will do this on. And this only came in September, so there's only so much experience to glean from what they've done so far. But nevertheless, it's quite interesting to have taken that approach on that scale.
So the output is the PowerPoint with the talking on the top?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just add something about what he said about decreasing attendance? I said I have been recording lectures for quite a number of years, and all my lectures go online and actually onto Learning Central. And I have never particularly noticed a decrease in student attendance, but at the same time I've also noticed what I had to do wasn't merely do a presentation which is just a voiceover on a slide. Because if it was just a voiceover on a slide, it's no advantage in coming. So I think the challenge then for me was to actually have a value in attending, such that the recording is just additional benefit. That I think is important.
I don't see the point of doing the live lecture. If you're going to do that, why don't you just do it in your office or at home with your feet up, and just click through the PowerPoints and do it? I don't see this. I think you're absolutely 100% right. You're 100% right. It's got to be a difference.
I mean, that was what they did. That's part of what they did.
What I'm asking myself, especially with the drop in attendance, is how well students actually make notes and listen compared with just watching an online version as opposed to being there actually in the lecture theatre. My hypothesis would be that they actually don't take as good notes watching a recorded lecture as they would do if they were actually in the lecture theatre, because I think they've always got that to go back to. That's I don't necessarily, it's a hypothesis, but I think it's worth looking at to see the degree to which students become reliant on a resource that they feel they can always go back to, rather than actually engaging at the moment in which actually it's happening.
Well, I think I can tell you students don't take good notes at all, whichever way. Both. If you go to give them the PowerPoint slides as a handout, then they think that's notes. I don't give PowerPoint. I don't use PowerPoint. I write everything on screen, so they have to copy it down, but they don't. They just sit there and watch. And they think that by sitting there and watching, they've taken it in.
But do they know that they've got the video recording that they have to go back to?
But they don't think, yeah. And then you say, when they come with a question afterwards on how to do a particular tutorial question, they say, where are your notes? Don't have any. Even though they have the recording, they still don't take notes. So everything is visual, which isn't helpful.
No, I just wondered to what extent generally educators feel that's a problem, is in terms of the engagement of the lecture regardless, in terms of how students make the most of that opportunity.
John?
Well, I was just going to say as a response to that, it's interesting that just simply by putting a camera there and putting this online, we're thinking about key issues about pedagogy, about how students learn. How should they learn? The idea that a student might be paying £9 to effectively just be able to access something on YouTube, and it's almost as if could we get a more passive form of consumption of learning? And I guess it's a kind of more political point about why are we educating students? How should they get their material? How should they deal with that material? Should be actively changing it, manipulating it, collaborating, forming collaborative forms of knowledge? Or is it simply, I've got this stuff in my head, you need it in your head effectively, how can we photocopy this as quickly as possible regurgitate it at the end.
The thing I was going to say is just, I think I agree with the fact that I think it is a new generation, and like Vi was doing it, like here now I'm taking notes and that's the way I work, but every student doesn't learn in the same way, and if they're just going to be, it's a visual generation I think now, so I don't really see a problem with that. I also don't see a problem with if the attendance drops. If it works for them, why not? I mean, if there's only 10 people there and you do something slightly different, that's fine. If they choose not to come and it works for them to watch it at home, let them choose whatever works for them. I don't think we have to force them all to do it the way we want them to.
You don't know what they're doing at home.
But that's their,
If they're not there, I know you say
that's their choice
commitment.
though.
Well,
It's their choice to do that.
yeah.
I've used Camtasia lectures for about 6 or 7 years to teach medical students, junior doctors and some senior doctors. I tend to use, the format I use is to keep the lectures short and focused, but use them as a precursor to subsequent more complex learning. So for example, I run a distance learning course and I send out the Camtasia lectures in advance of the course. They get all the didactic lectures in advance of the course. There are 40 odd lectures in total. And when they come on the course is then all about trying to use that knowledge and integrate it in interpretation of some complex situations that we're faced with in medicine. And that works very, very well.